It's Saturday morning. I'm meteorologist Byron Douglas, and thanks for joining us on a Saturday morning on this 24th day of January. I'll take this full in a moment. We've made some adjustments. Winter storm warning. If you're out running last-minute errands, I'm going to go ahead and take this full. Look, if you guys have any reports, even if it's just flurries, even if it's just cloudy skies, I'll take them at this point because we do have some moisture coming into the viewing area right now. It affords me to match up what we have on the radar. Those spotter reports are invaluable. We're getting a lot of spotter reports outside of our viewing area. Kind of a range here of 7 to 15 inches of snow. A lot of the heaviest bands of snow, even though we're looking at snow starting this afternoon, the accumulation would be tonight and through Sunday morning. Of course, the dangerous cold is already here. We've had wind chills below zero. And this alert time is going to run through Monday. Monday is going to be more of a component there of Arctic air during that stretch. Again, we're going to take a look at I believe I have the winter storm warning queued up. We're going to take a look at that right now, or the projected snow totals here. And again, I'm just going to see if any reports have come in. Just good morning to you, Karen, Anthony, Corey. Yeah, I'm concerned too about some sleet. I'll have more on that, and freezing rain in the Evansville area. Zach, that is a legitimate concern. That's the big change that we've seen. I'll have more on that in a moment. And give me your town too. Dion and Owensboro, we have, this pretty quiet time here on the weekend. We've been cutting in on the Today Show. On the TV side, I believe I'm trying to think. We have something going up there. It might be an infomercial. And just cloudy in Henderson. Mindy, I appreciate that report. Hello there, Aaron. How are you? So this is a look at our snowboard, if you will. And then we're going to take a look at the ice potential as well, especially across western Kentucky. But I'm going to show you some of the guidance that I'm concerned about. But generally, a big swath of 9 to 16 inches of snow. And we're going to be redrawing some of these lines. And then kind of a bullseye, I kind of gave an over and under for a good portion of the viewing area, about 10.5 inches of snow. Some cities and towns will see less, some a little bit more. We have about an 80% chance achieving over 8 inches of snow. Record snowfall for this date is about 2.5 in 1979. Of course, all the winters in the late 70s were brutal. And then the snow record for tomorrow was in 1978, which is a winter that yielded 21 inches of snow, and that's the blizzard of 1978. We're not going to see blizzard-like conditions because we won't meet the threshold as far as wind. So that's just a little climatology. Winter storm warning, this is the biggest, largest one I've seen. Been doing this for a long time. Goes from Durango, Silverton, Colorado, New Mexico. I have a lot of mountains there. And then all the way up into Vermont. And then Maine and New Hampshire, a winter weather advisory across the East Coast. And you have ice storm warnings. I'm going to spend a little time on the ice storm warnings because they cover areas to about Nashville, east of the Cumberland Mountains, Knoxville, those locations, Greenville and Columbia, South Carolina. That's already a state of emergency, and then Atlanta. And a lot of cancellations and delays from Atlanta and then up to Chicago, which is a major connector. And then some ice east of Dallas. Interesting looking radar down in Texas. I believe we'll take a look at that in a moment. So it covers all of our area. I had really good questions this week, and I haven't really thought much about. A winter storm warning will come before the advent of snow. It's different from severe weather that it's verified or on the radar, and then you have a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. Nothing like that today. But it comes out in advance to give folks some lead time. So a lot of questions on Facebook about that. Most everything here is going to be snow, but that icing component, when we redraw these lines, we might bring it up to about the Ohio River, based on some of the guidance, not all of it. And we hope it doesn't verify. Credit goes to the National Weather Service on this graphic, major impacts. But if we get any ice in Muhlenberg, in Ohio, and Hopkins, it would go over to extreme because travel would be very difficult, if not impossible, if that would verify. All right, this is not the most glamorous map we have in our arsenal, but this is showing visibility, and I use it a lot for snow to match up what we have in the radar. I just checked the airport reports in Arkansas there at Little Rock. They have visibility at a mile, overcast layer at 800 feet. We have clouds here about 13 to 15,000 feet. So our visibility is good, but this is what's coming into our areas. It cycles from the southwest to the north and east. And even below 1,000 feet there in St. Louis, they'll probably have a new hourly report. So you won't see the visibility reports, and then planes, everyone's okay landing there in Little Rock, reported wake turbulence, where you have some turbulence there, which would be pretty typical with a northeasterly wind. So we're at 10 miles, and this is going to lower to a mile or less, in my view, as we go through tonight and tomorrow. This is where, earlier in, I hope we don't see anything like this, in northern Indiana, they had some issues on the highways because snow got into visibility. That was back in December, and then they had an incident up in Wisconsin. So then back in December on I-70. So hopefully we don't see anything like that. Clouds are too high to really yield anything. I haven't looked at all the cloud layers here in the last hour. But let's do a little nowcasting here on Doppler radar. I'm going to take this full, and again, if you have any reports, now that green in the radar you see there from Harrisburg to Carbondale, that's going to come through the atmosphere there in snow. Okay, Holly wants snow there in Tennessee. Most of the snow is going to be this afternoon and then really increasing. All right, Yvonne, they're pumped up there in St. Anthony along Highway 64. You're going to feel that wind up there on the hill there in beautiful St. Anthony in Du Bois County. So go ahead and give me your name and town if you want. I'll only shout out a last name if I know you personally. All right, so we're getting some returns there in Carmi, Posey County. So from Carmi down into about Norris City. If you have any reports there, pass those along. I think the clouds are too high there, but you might start to yield a few snow showers. And we'll loop the radar. I'm going to widen the radar out as we take this full. And so this is going to envelop our area once we lower the clouds. So I mentioned the clouds. We'll take a look at the cloud chart in a moment. Getting ahead of myself. And then we're going to go out to the west. I mean, look here down in Dallas, they're seeing a winter mix. And then south there, even some thunderstorms potentially, in fact, showing a few thunderstorms. All this energy, the snow equation, all this is drawing closer to our area each hour. Right now we're at 10, showing skies breaking just a bit. Humidity is going from 51 to 56%. So we're going to saturate lower levels of the atmosphere, but it's still going to take a while. So that Arctic air is in place and it's going to put up a fight. And right now we're at 10, 14 in Greenville, 9 in Fairfield. Temperatures are done for the day. They're going to kind of be range bound in the teens. Look at the wind chill. If you're running those last minute errands, hat and gloves, you guys know the drill. So -6 in Evansville, -3 in Owensboro. That's going to be the trend, and we have cold alerts in place. Here's this northeasterly wind. Yes, snow will blow and drift with winds pretty much. We'll take a look at the wind chart in a moment. Here's the wind chill, kind of holding with the temperatures -3 to about a deuce. So the clouds right now, we have overcast skies, but the cloud layers will lower. So when I came in here this morning, the bases were about 15,000, but they'll lower down to a couple thousand feet into the afternoon, and we'll start to yield some snow. I loaded up the visibility map twice, so there's a look at that. So during the daylight hours, some good questions. When does the snow start? A lot of it picks up here, 11, 12, and then as we go into the afternoon. During the daylight hours, 1 to 3 inches. Tonight, heavier bands of snow. On top of this, 4 to 7. As we added up, we came up to about 7 to 16. And heavy snow tomorrow, 4 to 8, especially right out of the gate in the pre-dawn hours and then during the morning, and then tapering off a bit during the afternoon. A dry type of snow initially, but then just steady streams of snow as we go through Sunday. Here's the latest timeline. This is the in-house model. Big shield of snow where you see the magentas and blues. I don't see that well at my age, but you see the color tables there indicating some snow. It breaks up a little bit tonight. Now I'm going to be watching this area here in pink, and this is what I'm concerned about. Early in the week, it was showing all the sleet, freezing rain along the Kentucky-Tennessee border, but each day it's inched a little farther to the north. Somebody mentioned Evansville on the stream, and I'm going to show you some of the other guidance that we don't have time to get to on the TV side. Bowling Green, there's a case there with sleet, quite a mixture aloft for perhaps some thunder snow. But this brings that line up to about Owensboro. This would cut back on the snow totals. So this is what we talked about, that if we get some sleet, you mix in with a winter mix, the snow totals would go down dramatically. As we go into Sunday, we're back over to all snow. It tapers off during the afternoon. So that's Exhibit A, if you will. Snow totals this afternoon during the daylight hours. You can get, if you're out this afternoon, 1-2 inches of snow, you lower your speed. You can get to where you're going if you have to travel. You know, truck drivers, folks are out to work, doing a surgery today, going to see a loved one that had health issues. We understand that. Just take your time and you'll get to where you need to go. But then snow really builds in tonight, and these are the raw numbers. And we do this here on the stream, and then look at these snow totals here. The areas here in kind of a reddish pink really build. They're less across western Kentucky, but this is, I think, where we'll have the greatest impact if we mix in some sleet and freezing rain. You see some double-digit totals there, which is an incredible amount, obviously, and lesser amounts across western Kentucky. I'm going to get to the, I think I have the ice part. I'm showing you the rainfall here because we usually use a ratio of 10-1, so that's why I'm showing that. It's not going to rain, but you take the snow and you go melt it, it comes up to the liquid form. So as you go forward, I saw some readings here over an inch. So if you use a 10-1 ratio, and I mentioned if you use a 10-1 ratio, come up with about 10 inches of snow. I mentioned the over and under would be about 10 to, well, let's do the hook, 10.5. During that stretch. But Arctic air doesn't hold as much moisture. That's where you can see those pockets there of some higher amounts. If we get a whole bunch of moisture increasing this afternoon, it would take a little out. You'd be in that 7 to 8 range. So some of the things that we look at off camera, we don't always go to air with. So that's a look at that setup. Here is the, I thought I didn't have this map in here and I was going to have to work on the fly. So I'm glad it's in here. But this is what I really want to pinpoint here. This is Sunday. This would start late tonight. I should have started it on Saturday night. But we have icing potential, Madisonville, Hartford. So it's not going to be a major ice storm, but you know, that ice gets on the roadways. You know, it happened earlier this week when we had some black ice, and there was all kinds of accidents there on Highway 62. So that's where travel would almost be impossible if this would verify. And it's moving a little farther to the north. You see some slight amounts here, a winter mix. It could be some sleet. That would take a little out of everybody's snow totals, a little bit. It's not going to make it zero or anything like that. We're still going with our range, but it's moving a little farther to the north. Hopefully, I think I stop it here. So earlier, Greenville was showing 6,200. So this is down a little bit from the early run this morning. However, if that would hit, we could see some additional ice storm warnings into our area. Here's the most pessimistic. This is the NAM. Now this NAM, it runs a little hot on our snow and it's aggressive. Not in all cases, but I just saw this before we started our first stream this morning. And someone mentioned it here on Facebook. It wants to bring some sleet and freezing rain in Sunday during the morning, covering that. It's a little farther north here in each run. When we were on this morning, it had it into about central Vandenberg County. So it takes it and then goes over to all snow. So if you wake up early tomorrow and here on your roof or just some freezing rain mixing in with some sleet, this is what the NAM is showing. And I haven't looked at all the guidance, but that, I wanted to show it to you because it'd be hard for me at this point to say, that's going to stay to our south. It has moved a little farther to the north. And so is the European model, which is a mid-range model. By the way, that's been the model that has performed the best in my view all week long. But these are the shorter term models that we're using right now. Here's the 7-day. I'm going to go look at my phone here and see what's coming in here on Facebook. And I'll try to go back if we have some folks on here. And we do. So I'm going to go back and kind of reset the table. Sullivan, you could, I don't think much ice, but if you're in Sullivan, Kentucky there. Anna, thank you. Due to the snow, since it's a dry type of snow, I don't expect power outages. But with ice, we always have that potential. So that's encouraging from that point, where the dry type of snow can't set up shop on the power lines and things like that. Lori, I agree. Hopefully we don't have any freezing rain. Matt Allen, my good friend, and like I said, I won't mention the last name until I know who you are. All right. I think Tyler, so we're just going to talk. Tyler, I think he queued that up. That might be a live look down in, that might be our version of the Interceptor down. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. Down into Memphis, Tennessee. This is going to, I'm going to go in and talk to Tyler. And Tyler, is that Memphis?
That's Memphis.
All right, Memphis. All right, thank you. Hey, look, we're gonna. This is not going to be Shakespeare in the Park, but Tyler, who's working in our TMP room, this is how it looks down in Memphis, Tennessee. So you're seeing the returns there, and look, that's what's going to be advecting and moving into our area overall. And see how it cuts into the visibility. That's manageable, but once we get into the big shield of snow, as we go through tonight, those visibilities will lower. And since initially it's a dry type of snow overall, it can blow and drift. And you know, when you're out driving, it can get into your windshield and cut into visibility, and then you can't see, obviously, when it's in front of you. So that's just kind of looking. I want to talk to Tyler. I like to talk. Anything else, Tyler? Any other shots? I'm putting Tyler on the spot because he's spinning plates for the. You know, and Tyler's a snow expert, by the way. Oh, Lawton, Oklahoma. All right, let's see if we. Okay, all right. We'll see that if it goes into your stream. We're going to go up into. All right, that's down in Lawton, Oklahoma. It's not too far. Gosh, I'm going to put myself on the spot. I believe it's south there of Oklahoma City. So that's our version of the Interceptor down in Lawton, Oklahoma. They're not going to see as much snow, by the way. And this is in the television market there of Oklahoma City. That's down in the Oklahoma City DMA, where they're seeing some snow. But they did have the component of ice, and so I saw that on some of the morning streams. So you got Channel 9 down there and Channel 5, all the folks down there, our colleagues in the Oklahoma City and 14 alum. Eric Garlick worked there. He's now in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's a live look there. And so that's what's taking place down into Oklahoma. All right, there's the 7-day. We got some folks on. Hopefully my maps won't kick out. They kick out after about 15 minutes. Well, we're into overtime. So if this goes, watching me work in real time could be a challenge here. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the highlights, the winter storm warning, and then I'm going to go back to Doppler radar. Again, if you have some reports, pass them along. We're going to have more throughout the day. And take the visibility map, and we'll go to Doppler radar. And then we'll have more. You know, Arden Gregory is going to have more at noon. She's coming in here in a bit. We're going to redraw some maps. Again, we're always updating and amending the forecast. And then based on the spotter reports that come in. So we're looking at generally 7 to 15 inches of snow and that potential for some ice accumulation and sleet across western Kentucky under the winter storm warning. Now, during the daylight hours, not much. We talked all week that some folks might be underwhelmed. Where's the snow? A couple of inches of a dry type of snow, and then we'll increase throughout the day. And there's the winter storm warnings. You know, I haven't counted, perhaps up to 30 states. So 60% of the country, if my math is right. And this will go into Sunday. So we are starting to see some returns now. I'm going to take this full and see if any reports have come in. We're going to go back to Doppler radar. Let's go back over to, there we go. Okay, there's a look at Doppler radar. Now you see the areas there in green, that's not going to be freezing rain or sleet. It's the color tables that goes through the atmosphere. It's going to be in the form there of snow. Electra, I hope everyone stays safe. Zach, good morning to you. Faye watching from Santa Claus. Cold and Winslow, Rodney, appreciate that up there in Pike County. Amanda, good morning. No, we don't have any ice in Tell City right now, but we would have that potential later in the day. But generally the best setup for that would be across as we go into western Kentucky for any ice. So I'm just going to do a little nowcasting here on Doppler radar, and I won't belabor this. We'll have more soon. We'll have more in our 14 First Alert weather app as we make adjustments to the forecast. Look, on the weather team, we all talk. We've been talking all week. Arden, Michael, Jeff. We're all going to be on board this weekend, so we're not going anywhere. And we'll widen it out just a bit. So we're seeing some returns here, but I think some of this would be drying up before it reaches the surface. So we'll wait for those first reports. But most of this will unfold as we go into the afternoon. So I'll go ahead and take this full. We'll be back with you guys in a little bit. If you have any questions, we'll look down on the feed. Again, a lot of the snow will start, even though we're seeing some returns now, into the afternoon during the daylight hours, 1 to 3, and then finishing generally 7, 8, up to 15 inches of snow, grand total for our accumulation. We'll be back with you. We'll talk to you soon.